I guess the moment has arrived. I am shocked to death that Dirt City's doing this, but let's get his side. That's only fair. Ladies and gentlemen, the very famous Dirt City. How are you, sir?
Guess what, dummies? The regulators have come home to roost.
While Nerd City did not play the biggest role in bringing COPA regulation, he laid the welcome mat, and might have opened the door for them. A door to a house that he didn't make. Google made. Nerd City is putting himself in a position to be the H3 moral sort of authority of YouTube, which never ends well. It never ends well. Oh, you're a leafy Tommy NC away from it all collapsing and losing your credibility. And I think, judging by what I've read in his response to us, and in his every right, we criticize him heavily, he has every right to respond to us. I'm fine with him. What we're not fine with is what we see as doublespeak. And I'm going to read what he wrote to you in a minute. Lele, she makes content for kids and hardly any of it's suitable. Right off the bat, we weren't making the argument whether it was suitable or not. We were making the argument whether you're trying to hold both grounds. You're trying to talk out both sides of your mouth. So I've made it abundantly clear I don't care what Lele thinks, and I've also made it very clear in the podcast that I don't need Nerd City to raise my kids, and I am way willing to put up with Jake Paul and Lele Pons. I am. Doesn't mean you have to. Now that COPA is being enforced, COPA is something that he said that he didn't want on No Jumper podcast. Yet in the video, he goes through a checklist of laws that she violated. I'm sorry. It's not very difficult to, say, well, maybe you're not being straight up with us. Maybe you're pretty much okay with the way COPA is. If you were that uncomfortable with the law to begin with, why would you use it to show that Lele's a bad thought? She's not following the standards of labor her channel properly. I thought you didn't want this. I didn't think you wanted us to labor your channels. Yet you're, okay, well, it's here now. I'm not for it, but God damn it, they better, no one's above the law. He sounds like a goddamn, like he's from the 700 Club. He sounds like one of those old church biddies that live by you in Southern Land over there. Yeah, I don't like. God, he sounds like these people. Heavy metal music makes you kill yourself. No Dungeons and Dragons. What I think you mean to say, here comes the straw man, is yup, you saw regulations headed this way. No, you're not causing them, and you're not causing them, and you wanted them. I think I kind of said that. I didn't want the government dictating procedures on YouTube. I'm sorry. It's impossible to believe that. It is impossible to believe that. When you continue to cite laws that apply to the FCC and terrestrial television and radio, and you apply those laws to your video and the Jake Paul video. It is impossible to believe that you're not comfortable with COPA when you freely point out what laws in your mostly million-hit videos that Lele Pons is allegedly breaking, according to you. That is impossible to reconcile. The FTC can barely wrap their hands around how the site works. Why would I want them looking at tools for Creator Studio and dictating where it goes? Well, that was my argument when we talked privately. That's exactly what you're inviting, and there's no way around it. And I don't think you're silly enough to believe that the government won't come in and make laws that give them more power, or just what they think works. And admittingly, they're a bunch of boomers. You guys are reaching. There's nothing hypocritical about this. Of course, Nerd City, and in Nerd City typical style, you can see it on his when he argues about certain things on Twitter. He never quite goes what we're reaching for. I'm straight up saying this. You're being dishonest. I think you are completely comfortable with these regulations based on conversations I've had with you personally, based on based on your Jake Paul video, based on your reaction to Jake Paul when COPA came around this past September, and based on your Lele Pons video that was supposed to be a ThotPatrol video, but just happened to bring in what shit she violated on COPA. I'm saying all those things lead me to believe that you're completely and utterly insane if you believe what you're saying, or dishonest. Or a third option, you're just trying to play both ends. Ebola, pick up where you left off, sir.
Lele purports to be, a role model for children. Do you think he set up that frame, or do you think he's just enforcing that frame that Lele set up for herself?
I don't know. See, I don't care what he does to Lele. My issue is he's speaking out both sides of his mouth. He might be 100% correct about Lele. I just don't think what he's doing. I don't think his pursuit, his mission is noble. I don't think it's all that important. And I think it'll do more harm than good. That's all I believe.
I don't really see YouTube as behind the point of saving. I really just think it's all downhill from here, and that it's going to.
Then you and Dave should go bowling. I'm sorry. I got to fight the fight. I just don't understand. Well, it's coming anyway. Well, fuck it. We're Jews. We're going to the fucking concentration camp. There's not much you can do.
Okay, drop him. He's a racist and an anti-Semite.
I know that was a little extreme. I guess the moment has arrived. I am shocked to death that Nerd City's doing this, but let's get his side. That's only fair. Ladies and gentlemen, the very famous Nerd City. How are you, sir?
Can you two fucking kiss and make up already?
We're not fighting. I disagree with him. We're not fighting. He's not a bad person. I think he's ridiculous. That's all.
Well, I hope we're not fighting, Tommy.
No.
I consider us friends.
I consider you a friend. I just think you're insane.
You've said on one hand, I think it's ridiculous to blame Nerd City for bringing about these regulations. But then, as it goes on in these live chats, you'll start to shorthand that to Nerd City's bringing about COPA. You're perpetuating this rumor.
Well, actually, what I said was he didn't build the house; he just laid the welcome mat. That was my exact words.
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of hyperbole though for a comedy show?
I get that.
All right.
But we do keep coming back to that. All right. So as far as the Lele thing, you said two things that I don't think quite line up. You said that number one, your daughter is a Lele Pons fan now and has begun watching her content.
Yes.
But then you also say that you're not aware of the things that she's been doing in the
No,
content.
that's not what I said at all.
That's part of what the video.
That's not what I said at all. I said I hadn't seen the content that you displayed. Everything I've watched it with her.
Doesn't it serve a purpose then? Because it just made you aware of it.
Yes, but I don't need that, and I know I really don't need it if it's going to bring regulations to YouTube, which is actually more of a detriment to me than my daughter seeing Lele Pons half naked. I deal with it now. I don't panic if I see, and I have seen her watch things that is just unacceptable, and I deal with it then. I don't need the government. That's just me.
I think that's a fair approach, and but some parents aren't like that, right?
Yeah, I know. They're idiots.
They would want.
They're mad people that make the world worse for everybody else.
Common ground has been found, boys.
Let's say you're a person who doesn't believe in concealed carry of guns or knives.
Sure, I think I know where you're going with this.
You don't want people with knives and guns in their pockets that aren't registered, and you can't see that they're there. You think that sucks, right? Mm-hmm. But you also don't want a policy where we all get stopped and frisked on the corner.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's if that is true, you have not articulated it very well. You've basically said that you don't want these type.
Man, I do try to articulate these positions where I can. Like if I'm not as clear, like all right, I'm not trying to deplatform Lele Pons or Jake Paul. The videos always stop short of saying anything like that.
You went through a list of laws that would put her in court and paying fines for the next 10 years.
No, that's not what that is. So that list is the FTC clarifying these. So that's their best attempt to identify what children's content is. If Lele is doing any of those things, she should consider her content children's content, and she's doing 100% of them. So what I'm saying is that Lele,
and if she does 100% of them,
hang on one second.
Then what happens to her? Then what happens to her if she continues to do this?
So what happens to her is she ticks the box that says yes, this content is aimed at children. And that means that her ads turn off and her comment section shuts off, which is a shitty fucking implementation of COPA. I hate that. But Lele needs to follow the rules just like us. A commentary video can change the behavior of a bad actor on the system.
You sound like a communist that's saying it's going to work this time. I got to be honest.
No, it's self-regulation, man.
It does. It sounds like a no Scotsman fallacy. No true Scotsman fallacy. It's just like, oh, they'll get it right. No, they won't. They'll never get it right.
I'm talking about, I made a YouTube video on YouTube about YouTube content.
Yeah.
I didn't make a petition and send it to Congress. I didn't petition the White House. I didn't call the cops.
You went to the report. You went to the media. You went to the media
about YouTube shit. That's
you went to the media.
Self-regulation.
You went to the media. That's
I'm
not
okay with self-regulation. Are you okay with self-regulation?
What? Yeah, in some senses, yes. Depends on the situation. It's a little more nuanced than that. Yeah, sure. You know what self-regulation is? It's hate mobs. That's what self-regulation is, and everybody's against hate mobs. So,
well, I'm certainly not trying to start a hate mob.
No, I don't think you're trying to do that, but that's probably the second most effective thing. That's self-regulation. Essentially, what we call hate mobs.
Don't paint me as cancel culture.
No, I'm not at all. You're going right to the government. You're going right. You're not manipulating anybody.
No, I'm not going right to the government. See, I just said I haven't gone to the government at all. You keep saying that I did.
I think by going to the news media, you're going to the government. It's just that
by talking with journalists.
Yes.
So that's a completely separate thing. So journalism is continuing to attack YouTube and try to damage it because we're competing for the same.
And you gave them a weapon, and you handed them a nuclear weapon.
Begrudgingly, I talked to journalists.
Begrudgingly, it doesn't matter.
We should be talking to journalists.
Oh, fuck that! Are you crazy? You don't think they're a bunch of agenda-driven whores? You're out of your mind. Oh, that's why I think you're crazy.
That's not a golden rule, Tommy, that we shouldn't talk to journalists. What that is a result of them being unfair to PewDiePie. So now nobody talks to journalists. And that means that they'll continue to attack us without getting our side of the story.
Nah, that's your appeasement.
If we talk to them,
this is appeasement.
We give them our side of the story.
This is an argument of appeasement. We fundamentally disagreed. I don't think they should be talked to.
So unfortunately, because there's so many boomers in YouTube, well, all they pay attention to is the press. Even though these articles are getting less hits, less views than a fucking H3H3 video, they don't watch the H3 video. They read an article in Polygon. So it's like the only way you can talk to them sometimes is by talking to a journalist. Then all of a sudden you get a response. That's not ideal. That sucks. But I'm just dealing with the situation as it is.
Do you realize how powerful you are? I don't know if you do because you are a humble person. Do you have any idea?
There's no evidence that the regulators. So look, if the FTC, I hope this doesn't happen. If the FTC is to say, we saw this Nerd City video and that's why we're cracking down on the X, Y, and Z channel, then holy shit, now Jake or Lele or whatever can blame me for their fine for causing it or for ratting them out. But so far, I mean, we're talking about a complaint that happened in New York about a toy channel and about tracking of children. There's been no mention of me. You weren't the target audience for my Lele Pons video. If you didn't need that to know that that's what Lele's doing.
Yeah, but I know what you bring. Okay. Thanks for alerting the idiots. Thanks for alerting the reactionaries. And all the good they're going to do from here on out. No, this is never going to end bad.
So you're shooting the messenger here.
I'm not shooting the messenger.
To another point
shooting you at all. I'm disagreeing with you. I think this is a terrible mistake for the platform, but I do believe that you were totally sincere and you think this is best for the platform. But you know what? That's not what this stream was about. The stream was about you want your cake and eat it too. It is not about Lele Pons. And I mentioned that at the top of the thing when I brought up your thing that you keep up. We barely brought up Lele Pons yesterday, Dave and I did.
You'll say it's absolutely ridiculous to think that Jake Paul or Lele Pons would see these videos and then respond to the criticism and self-regulate, right? You know, like,
yes.
But you also say that look how many views you get, look how influential you are, and definitely regulators will.
I'm talking about I'm talking about you swaying the public. You're not going to sway a YouTuber. They don't think in the grand scheme of things, they're YouTube royalty. You're a dot in that world. To me, you're big. To them, you're nothing.
I think trying to sway politicians and regulators who don't give a fuck about YouTube versus trying to get someone who doesn't want to get heat on YouTube with a YouTube video by another YouTube video. Like, that's so much easier to get a YouTuber's attention than to get the regulator's attention. And that's why the call to action is not, hey, call the FTC.
I can't believe you're standing by that.
It's always like, YouTube, why is this on trending page? Like, delete this video, so-and-so. You know, like, it's not... Come and save us, cops.
You are incredibly and exceptionally naive. You haven't been around enough horrible people. That's what I'm saying.
I am fucking.
And that's why you're going to journalists, and that is why you trust journalists and politicians, because you are exceptionally naive, exceptionally. And there's not a bad bone in your body. All right, you've been incredibly generous to me with your time, with help for me. Let me make that abundantly clear with everybody. But I think you are exceptionally naive if you're telling me the truth right now.
Well, where you see naive, I see optimism. Okay, like I'm hoping that YouTube becomes the reinvention of the printing press and that self-publishing becomes as important as I think it is. Okay? And I think that people like Lele Pons and Jake Paul are fucking that up for everybody. So that's part of what these videos are meant to indicate.